Welcome back. Taxation is theft, as always. I'm back again today, and today I've got my good friend LaTonya Whittington. Um, can, um,
Hi, everybody.
I'm gonna go. We missed that. I was like, I'm not gonna switch to your shot right in the middle of that. Um, uh, but feel free to do that whenever you feel like it. Um, You'll know what I was. The audience will know what I was talking about any minute now. But so Latanya is a good friend of mine that I've worked with a few different times. We got to hang out at the Libertarian National Convention in New Orleans, and also at
Yes.
Cannabis, where we were fighting to free the weed in Texas.
Free the
Um,
weed,
free
free the
the weed.
weed,
Um,
free the weeds.
I'm gonna pull my laptop around over here just because. There we go. I totally forgot how I was setting this up today. Um,
I can't hear you
so
really well.
oh, you
There
can't hear
you
me.
go.
All right.
Oh,
Um,
yes, I can now. Yes. 100.
so um, I've got my rum today in my magical taxation is theft mug. Um,
I love it. I
and
love it.
and what do you have today? If you're not
Oh,
drinking.
well, I always, well, I'm the cannabis girl, right? So always got the cannabis. That's my coffee, Daniel. Yeah. And I want to thank you for having me on your show. This is really
Absolutely.
amazing. This is awesome. I love the hat.
Thanks. Um, so let's talk. Where do we start? There's so many interesting things because for one thing, let's talk about legalizing cannabis or weed or
Okay.
marijuana, whatever you want to call it. I'm
Well,
still I'm
that's actually how we met. You really just started about how we met, which was first at the National Convention in NOLA. But actually, I saw you before then,
Yeah, we've been Facebook
with
friends
being
since way
friends.
before that.
Yes, yes. And you can't miss you. You're very noticeable. But with my wonderful friends who I love dearly, Desiree and Tyler, Lindsay, Clayton, and Adam Kokesh and all of them, had introduced me to the Libertarian Party, you know. So, I got a chance to meet all the genuine people, and you happen to be a part of that, obviously. So that's how we basically, you and I met dealing with cannabis because that's how I met them. When I went to NOLA and also the Texas Libertarian Convention here, it was for free the weed, and everything I do is basically for free the weed. I associate with every party, um, to see who can help with the legalization with it, because everybody could do their part. So that's why I was there to make my face be known. And obviously, I must have done that. And I'm so glad, because that was my purpose. And NOLA, I was invited by Adam Kokesh, and I was on a panel. You know how they have the
Mm-hmm.
panels, and it was actually about minorities voting and becoming more participant in politics, and how could we do that? And so he had different people on there. But of course I snuck in there about free the wage. And so
I don't think anyone
I'm pretty
minded.
sure that's was you there for that?
I caught part of it, but we had like I think we were doing our regional caucuses at
Yes, they kept
uh,
y'all very busy. Oh my
yeah,
God.
that's one of the things that I hate about the conventions is you don't get to go see a lot of the panels and speakers. And this
Oh
is
yeah.
why I keep pushing for the libertarian cruise that I hear about every once in a while. I think they did it last year, maybe, or the year before, but they need to do it this year, and it needs to be where like we can actually go see all the cool stuff that we don't get to see when we're at the conventions.
Yeah, I mean,
But
it was still a packed room. They were saying that at hours that there were more people than any of the forums that they did have.
yeah,
And, they were really listening to what we all had to say. But, especially when I was speaking of the legalization of cannabis, everybody in the room agreed with me, because they really explained to me that that's a platform on the Libertarian Party,
yeah.
so that was a topic that's easy to be discussed. So, anyway, it was quite amazing and how it was accepted compared to other parties that I've been in and that I've visited. The Libertarian Party is the most party that is the most acceptant to it and to me, and my purpose, because they do see my passion and understand not everyone is accepting to me and who I am. But I can say the majority, if I'm gonna do a percentage, I would say 80%. Most
So
definitely.
So tell me about. Well, first let me just say the libertarians put the party in political party. So that's you're talking about legalizing weed. Um, but what kind of reactions? Because I mean the Democrats are they're known for being more weed friendly. They're kind of like they're the mainstream party that's for legalization. They're probably the party that claims they claim responsibility for the states that have done any kind of legalization. What kind of responses do you get usually when you talk to them or the Republicans, and how are they different?
Okay, so let me make sure I answer correctly. So, do you want to know basically about Harris County, and
Just
do you want to
anywhere.
know about the Democrat and the Republican side? Because I
Yeah,
can
just
give you all that.
Yeah, just either. I
Okay.
mean, not geographically specific. It can be anywhere. But I guess you mostly
Okay.
work with Harris County, so that's if that's what you know.
Yes.
So
Yes.
yeah, what's their response?
Well, I'll speak on a broad, from the beginning. I do know that the Democratic Party statewide supports legalization because I had a chance to meet Nancy Pelosi, at our yearly week dig dinner. And I didn't talk to her long, but I did tell her about my passion and who I was at the time, the executive director for Houston Normal at the time. And so I told her about my fight, and she grabbed me tight and said, "Don't stop doing it." She looked me dead in my eyes, and she said, "The party supports you, and we are for legalization." For medical purposes, she did mention that to me. So, because of the money, the big money and stuff like that that's involved, I'm pretty sure that's the focus for them, even though, they make it for to help people. And which, right now with the Democrats, we're at the point where we'll just accept basically what they give us. That's the truth. But, dealing with the Harris County Democratic Party, I'm not so much having a easy time. I have some candidates that will stand up and speak up, and there's more so that don't. And being so is because of the vote ratio. They probably have figured out that in their precinct area, that it's more individuals who do not support cannabis reform, and it's more less that do. So when I approach them or when I ask them, I get the yeah, yeah, and I have a stack load of cards, but when I try to reach out to them, it's like non existent.
Hmm.
And then I get the shy away. I mean, that's the truth. And this is the toughest time right now is during the election time. Like we're voting. And, when I try to explain to them, Tanya, I'm serious. What I try to explain to them is that we vote too, and I have to say we because, it's a section of us, the cannabis warriors, and we want to know who to vote for. If you for cannabis reform, then you got our vote. But if you're not, we're not going to vote for you, and that's the way it should be because we need to form a great and better system at the Capitol in Austin. Okay, so that's basically what I'm getting from the Democrat Party. When I go to events, and it's been a lot, and I'm so glad because now I have the opportunity to bring my signs that say free the weed and legalization of cannabis. And I went to one event, and it was an open forum. And I have to give it up to my guy, Marco Ash. He was the only libertarian candidate that was there. So, he stood and said his thing, and I did my thing in the background, and I got so many shots. Those people wanted to, kick me out of there. They were like pushing on me and stuff. And and
I
I
saw
laugh
that. That was
now
the
because
one.
it's funny.
That was the one that you live streamed, right? Is that the?
Yeah,
Yeah, I
I didn't
remember
get the
seeing that.
beginning. Yeah, it was really traumatizing, but I kept fighting through.
Yeah.
So I didn't get the beginning part, because that's when the pushing and shoving was going on. For some reason, I forgot my phone. So I walked out, and Mark was concerned. It was like, oh, what happened to LaTonya? Is she okay? Did she go to jail? And no, I went to get my phone. And so, I thought it was over. And these ladies were telling me to leave out of here, that, I didn't need to be there. And then I need to go sit down. And these were like older black women. And it was really sad how we're still stuck in the Stone Ages. We're not trying to come around to what's going on now, that it really helps people. So I stood strong and I stood my own. It was a few ladies at the end asked me if I wanted some water. And they were supporting me, and they were apologizing for them and their behavior. But, you know, Dan, you can't someone's. Um, it
Yeah.
just goes to show you, you know, doing this is not easy. You have to really be dedicated. Stuff like that just really made me stronger. Now, that was a forum for all candidates, but Daniel, was mostly Democrats there, because I knew almost everybody there. Okay.
Hmm.
There was a few Republicans. Thomas Wayne was there, and he's been to a couple of my meetings. And he was for free the weed, so he did say a couple of good things for me to kind of save me while I was there. But I was by myself, Daniel. I was alone. But that's okay. It's okay because that was a learning experience. I wasn't afraid, and I'll do it again.
Awesome. Yeah, isn't it funny how when you're alone, it's easier for them to kind of like try to tell you like, oh, you need to go over here, or to try to silence you. But if you were with a group of like 20 or 30 people, like when we do the free the weed, like the open carry walks, then like they don't try to get you out of the way. It's like there's just the fact that you've got so many people. It's I think I don't want to use the word that it makes them afraid, but it makes them um, it makes them less likely to feel that they have the power to intimidate you out of their way, I think. So yeah,
Right, right.
it's always great to travel in packs, and unfortunately, it's hard to find a lot of good people who are willing to get out there, even to just hold up signs, even to just stand and have your back, because it's a lot of people are afraid of what this means. Are they going to get arrested? Are people going to think they're crazy? Um, there's man, I've heard all of them. Like, yeah, well, I'd like to go, but I don't know if my job's gonna, you know, do something against me because they find out that I'm out here protesting for legalization, and meanwhile they drug test me every once in a while, and it's like they're. I can understand where the fear is a little bit founded, but at the same time, it's like that's the fight. If you just lay down and let whatever happen, then it's just going to get worse. Some people complain that they want to fight for
Right.
legalization of marijuana, but they're afraid, because they work for a company that drug tests. They don't use it themselves, but they're just afraid that they're going to get fired, and it's completely insane. And then you've got some people who they work jobs where they might get drug tested, and they want to use it on the weekends or at night, for pain or whatever else, and they can't because it's not like alcohol,
Mm-hmm.
like where you can't show up to work the next day and take a test for alcohol and it's not in your system. But if you do that with weed, it's like it's there for, depending on how much, it could be there for a few weeks. um so yeah, it's
Right.
it's it's I don't know. We've got to stand up and say something, or else it's they're just gonna it's gonna be something else. It's gonna keep growing. Luckily, this fight is going back in the direction towards personal freedom right now, where we are moving the ball in the right direction. Um, Desiree saying, "I don't smoke, but I support any and all freedom." So, and she's
Yeah,
she's a
afraid of
big advocate
shrooms.
too. Yeah, she likes the
That's
shrooms.
right. Afraid of shrooms.
Um,
Afraid of shrooms. I
so,
love you, Desiree.
um, so, man, what else is there? So, like, so you work a lot with the Democrats, but obviously, we're able to sit down and have a
Mm-hmm.
civil conversation. And I know we've even talked about some issues before that we don't even agree on, but we're what's interesting is, we've been able to have conversations where we kind of go both ways, back and forth about certain issues, and at the end we agree to disagree. Meanwhile, you have people who really just they're so intolerant they can't do that. Like, it's like as soon as they find out that they're from a different party, some people will just say, "You're a moron. I'm not even going to talk to you." And I think that's
Right.
that's
Just because
pretty
they don't
dangerous.
agree with their views.
Exactly. It's almost like it's almost like they're the uh what, like I don't want to knock Jehovah's Witnesses, but they're like the Jehovah's Witnesses that are like, I'm going to convince you to like Trump, and if you say anything bad about Trump, I'm just going to say, well, I can't waste my time here with you. I'm going to go on to the next person, and convince someone else that they should
Right,
worship
right.
Trump. It's kind of fascinating how this whole political um, battlefield is set up right now. Um, but so tell me about your organization, Cannabis Reform of Houston. What exactly is that, and what else do you do with that?
Well, Cannabis Reform in Houston is a new organization. I really don't, well, I could go into the full detail, but you probably know a little bit prior. But we used to be Houston Normal. And Houston Normal was pretty known in Houston area for fighting for cannabis laws. And because of tax issues prior to me becoming executive director, um, the label was shut down. So, what I decided was to keep it going because there were people in the organization that still wanted to continue to keep fighting. And I didn't want to let them down, you know. So we formed Cannabis Reform in Houston, you know. The board has changed. There's different people, but I'm still here. And what we're doing is we're still pretty much focused on the same things that Houston Normal was, but we're actually doing more, leg work, and we're doing more communication with everyone. Uh, we're reaching out, we're getting out there instead of sitting back, sending emails and questionnaires and finding out, yes or no. So what we're doing is, we're going out there, we're letting people know about us, we're educating people. We know that November is very important. So, it's all about who we vote for. So we're getting out there, we're trying to register people to vote. I'm a voters registrar, so, for the Harris County area. So, I'm having events, to bring people together. And I'm asking for libertarians, Republicans, and Democrats to come to these events. Why? Because it's going to take all of us to do it. Because once November 6th is over, no, it's not going to be all Democrats. No, it's not going to be all Republicans. No, it's not going to be all libertarians. It's going to be a mixture of everybody. So it's very important, that we communicate with everyone. So when the bills are being written and pulled up again, in which that's the story, we can depend on these people to pass them, you know. Uh, that's when we're also educating our people how to testify and how to lobby. And I know that you know what I mean by that. So we're preparing to go to Austin, uh, find out who your representative is, your senators, write them letters and call them, let them know why you want it to be legalized and the bills that you support, and you want them to support the bills. And if you have a story to tell, like I do, prepare it, get it together, and we'll go down there and we'll testify. Because I mean it's really great to have the meetings and to get together, but giving awareness is what's important. And you know, we're also joining up with COCW and Cannabis Open carry walks, okay, and which I give it up to them because they're really an awesome group of people, and they support cannabis reform in Houston. So we're joining together because I love the walks. They're all over Texas. And so, just not in Houston, you have all the little cities that are joining together, to stand up and say, hey, we want to change. We don't like the laws. It's different in Houston. They have the 4 grams, and, you get a ticket and you take a class. That's not in all cities. You go to Richmond or Katy, you get busted for a joint, you probably got to do a month or 2 months. In other places, for a roach, you got to do time.
Yeah.
So what we're asking is for all over Texas. We want to change. So that's basically what COCW is doing. Like joining people together and giving awareness. We're all educating. You know, so we're standing strong. because we can't stop, won't stop, you know. So we're doing events, we're going places, and we're just letting people know who we are. And if you want to join us, please, we're on Facebook, Cannabis Reform in Houston. We also have a website, and that's, cannabisreforminhouston.org. You can get on. And also, we have a IG, Instagram, which is Free the Weed HTX, of course. So, you can post, you can, leave videos. If you feel like, you want something to say it. We all have a voice. So that's basically what my organization is doing. We're trying to give everybody a voice, like never before. I've been in this game fighting for about 3 years going on now. And in 2017, I did go to Austin and the Capitol, and I testified. And it was me and Karen Reeves and a couple of other people. And it was very little of us, Daniel. So, what I'm hoping is in 2019, it's going to be different. Like we should flood the halls of the Capitol. It should be many of us. And if we're not going to testify, just come to support the ones that are. Because I remember
Yeah.
standing in there alone, maybe with a few people that I came with, Kara and a couple of other ladies, So, it's just a few fighters, a few warriors, But now we have many, we have many. So, I'm just really hoping that this time it'll be different. It has to be. So I just want to, tell you guys about an event that we are doing here in Houston. If I could plug this in,
Yeah,
it's
of
going to be
course.
October the 6th, Daniel. Okay. And the last day to register to vote is October the 9th. So October the 6th, we're going to be at Midtown Bar and Grill. And it's going to be like a rock to vote type of situation going on. And it's from 8 until. And COCW is joining us. We have Jay, a smoke shop, and we have a couple of rappers coming. So, if you haven't registered, come and be with us. Come and rock with us at Midtown Bar Grill, and it will be on my Facebook and Cannabis Reform in Houston. And then also, Daniel, did you come to my global marijuana march that I had this year in May? Was you here for that?
No, I don't think I was. I don't think I made
Okay.
that.
Well, we will. I could have. Okay. Well, we had a walk at McGregor Park. So earlier that day, we're going to have a walk to vote. And I'm kind of going backwards, but um, that's going to be with COCW, Houston COCW, and we have a couple of people coming in from out of town. And we're going to be at McGregor Park from 3 to 7, you know. So we'll have that on the page as well. So make your signs, come out there with us. You know, we're going to be all about free the weed. I really like this area, Daniel, because it's diverse. It's by a college, U of H, which is the main campus.
Hmm.
And then also it's in an urban area too. So you're going to have a mixture of people there. So I really love that because we need to reach out to everybody, instead of just a certain area. Where this is going to be is definitely a mix of culture. So I'm really
Nice.
excited. So October the 6th is the day.
Awesome.
October 6th.
So let's go back for a second because I wanted to get that plug in, but I wanted to talk about
Thanks.
um, um, So okay, so you were talking about testifying and lobbying and this other stuff. Can you, because I know like just even hearing those words is intimidating for a lot of people, and they're like, I could never do that. I don't know what that is or how to do it, and it's just kind of like, it's this kind of I don't know, the self defeating, like, the voice in the back of our heads that comes out and says, you can't do that. But it's really like, it's fear of the unknown. Once you know what it is, you realize it's really not that big of a deal. So why don't you tell me kind of what's your experience like, as far as what kind of lobbying you've done, what it was like for you to go testify, any of that. What was your experience with that?
Well, I'll just start from the beginning. It's really fun, getting up there. What usually do is make it like a road trip, and we would spend the night because a lot of us lived here, um, which was really great. I have to give it up to Karen. I'm gonna take this with me. We would prepare the night before. So we would have our letters together. We would, go copy them, make 20, 30, whatever copies. We also would write cards. You write a card to your representative and say, hey, my name is LaTonya Whittington. I'm in your district and I support cannabis. Or if they did vote for a bill that you know about, you tell them thank you for your support. So that's the way, to kind of reach out to them. And then if we took some letters from other people who could make it, but we got their address and phone number, we would look up their representative to see exactly who it is to make sure that we go by their office. Okay. So, once we would go, if it was during a time when they were there, and that's usually when we would go. A lot of times they're in their office, a lot of times they're not. We
Yeah.
would end up having to speak with their secretary or, who's ever there, to watch the office while they were gone. And so they were very nice. It seems like they give them a script that they have to follow. When we go, we knock at the door, and they're like, "Hi, sorry they're not here, but what are you here for?" And then, we tell them what we're here
Yeah.
for. And then we have to sign this sheet, to let them know that we were there. And I'm happy to do that because what they're supposed to do is email us back or send us a letter saying, thank you for coming and we're going to read or listen to what you came to speak about. But I got zero letters, and zero email. But anyway, nevertheless, I do remember one that we did reach. She was one of my representatives, is Sophonia Thompson, and she was actually there. So once we got into the office, it's really big. She had like 4 or 5 sections. So once we got into the office, we would sit like in the waiting area and we tell them what we were there for. And then after that, we went and she had 4 chairs in front of her. So we got to sit there and talk with her. And actually, Karen knew the bills and everything that she voted for and the ones she didn't. So we actually talked to her about those bills. Okay. And so she gave us her answer why and why not. And maybe she didn't know about some of them. So I do remember that. And she was supposed to look it up. So, that's one of my experiences.
Okay.
And so after that, they thank you, give you your card. And, if they're not there, we were very pushy. If they weren't there, we would like slide it under the door.
Yeah.
So when they would come in, they would walk on it and you have to pick it up because it's right there. Okay. So it didn't matter if you was there or not. So that's lobbying. Oh my God, it's a humongous place. So you would want to bring tennis shoes or flat shoes. Become dressed professionally, especially if you're there for cannabis, because they already have that, hippie thing on us.
Yeah.
So we always say, come dressed nicely. So that would usually last all day. You'll have a list. You need to have your list together, so you can know each person and who you need to see, you know. So testifying. So, you'll know exactly what day it is and when they're having it, So once you get there, they have these little pad things, and you go and you fill it out. You put your name in and what bill you're there to testify for. Because on those days, they'll have plenty of bills. They'll have gun right bills, they'll have school bills, all kinds, but they always push the cannabis bills to the last one of the
Yep.
day. Okay. So if you're coming for the cannabis one, be sure to wait. Okay. Because I
Yeah, we were
remember we
there.
were there till like 3, 4 o'clock in the morning one
Yeah,
time.
that was what? That was like 2014, right? Was it, were you
Yeah.
involved?
No, mine was 2017.
Oh, because I think I went in 2014 or 2015 maybe, and yeah, we were there until 4 in the we didn't even start until 11. Because yeah, it was like the very last one. But I
Oh
think part of
God.
that was like, they saw how many of us there were. Like there were over, over 100 people. And actually, what I thought was like really hilarious about the whole thing was there was only so like there was over 100 people there to testify. Um, there was only one person there to
Uh-huh.
speak against any of the bills, and guess what? Guess
Okay.
what his job title was? He was the
What?
he was the warden of a prison. So everybody was there saying, yeah, we need to legalize weed, and he's there saying, no, 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 we need to keep it illegal because I need to keep my prison full. Uh,
Oh, what a
yeah, say
jackass.
it.
Can I say
Oh
that?
yeah, you can swear all you want. Um,
And he
yeah.
stayed up there the whole time just to say that.
Oh, they let him go first because the system helps their own.
Yeah.
But
Well, you know what?
it was
That
so
was
ridiculous.
2014. What happened to y'all in 2017, Daniel? Because it was not, I didn't see 100 people. But like I said, it's going to be different for 2019. There's too many of us. They may not even do it. They may just go ahead and pass it, because if it's 3, 4, 500 people out there to talk or whatever, I mean, what can they do?
Yeah.
Since Texas want to run the laws and do their bills like that, well, okay, you know, well, then we'll go ahead and dance to your music, but they're going to have to dance to ours too. We're going to be partners.
Did you
So,
say did you say
yeah,
partners? Was it?
yeah, I did.
um, no, but like something else. So when we went and testified, actually, it's almost like it was kind of pointless because it seemed like because this was just a
Like they
committee.
was gonna say no anyway.
No, no, no. They said yes and they passed it, but it was just the committee. Um,
Okay.
and so
Oh, okay.
I think and of course like that article because one of the bills was what was his name, Simpson. It wasn't Dave. Was it David Simpson? um, he wrote this bill that basically says we're going to remove the word marijuana from every law there. We're going to remove any law that has the word marijuana in it. It was complete decriminalization, and it passed this committee. um, and this article still, you still see this article going around that says like, it says Texas House passes bill to blah blah blah, but it's like, no, they didn't pass the bill. They passed it through a committee, and it was one of those things where, like, so now it's passed by the committee, but they never got to a floor vote on it because it never made it into the calendar. Um, so that's kind of like that whole, it's that process that I think gets a little bit more intimidating, and it's more, it gets kind of complicated, and a lot of people get lost there with that. But I think the reality is, um, regardless of some of the downfalls of this system, and because I mean there's plenty to complain about. I mean, I'll complain all the time about it. It doesn't matter how hard you convince these guys, they're gonna do what they want to do. But the reality is, I still say go do it anyway, because you make noise, you show support, you make them realize that there's a lot of people out there who do support this, and eventually they're gonna start to be afraid of the numbers that you have, and that's gonna cause them to,
Yeah,
because
that's right.
ultimately, like, they're not afraid you're gonna throw a Molotov cocktail in their window, but they are afraid that they're gonna get unelected. And when they see a lot of their constituents coming in and saying, like, hey, you need to vote for this or else we're not
Hmm.
going to vote for you, then, because that's the source of their power. So, it's, and I know a lot of my viewers are basically like, fuck the system, don't vote, none of that works. But I say hit it from every angle. It's, especially if you live close to the Capitol,
Really? Okay.
or it's yeah, why not? You've gotta attack it from every angle possible, because the more, even if it's throwing a little pebble at this giant machine, if you've got a million people throwing pebbles, that little machine's gonna it's gonna get a pebble stuck in a gear or something, and it's just gonna break down. So it's, you've got to hit it from every angle and
Well,
hit it with everything you got.
I just wanted to say what you were saying about talking to these representatives and they got to listen, and it just seemed like in 2017, like we would talk to them, it just seemed like they really didn't care.
Hmm.
So they throw us this little Compassion Act, in which they probably knew about it, that, okay, they was going to throw us this little Compassionate Act. But who was it for? I mean, God bless them kids, that have the epilepsy, and I'm sure, especially when it being severe, they need some kind of help. You know what I'm saying? But it's more people in Texas that are sick and have things that's wrong with them. I just think that was just kind of selfish, or I have to really figure it out, how did the money involved come into this, because I know it was some to it,
Always,
you know. But
always.
exactly. But I just know that they gotta know that this Compassionate Act is just not gonna do it. And so, I do have a question for you, though, before we have to go.
All right.
I'm really interested to know about you and about your freedom for cannabis, uh, because I know that you do have an interest in it. You came to uh, the event, Crystal Beach and all, Cannabis. And so I would like to know your views, and then, how do you plan on, helping us with this fight here in Texas?
Absolutely.
I wanted to ask you that in NOLA.
It's really interesting.
I did.
So, yeah, first of all, the way I see it, the government has no right to tell you what you can or cannot put in your body. That's just kind of a basic foundational principle. If uh, you know if you join an HOA, does the HOA decide? Do they get to decide what you consume? Do they get to say, like, well, if you live in our community, you're not allowed to make popcorn because we think it's bad for you? Like, no, that, like, anyone would think that's insane. Now with weed, it's like, um, weed is as harmless as popcorn. Um, but the reality is they've spent so much effort going through all this, creating all this propaganda to make it seem like such an evil thing. Because when you make it seem like an evil thing, then you can actually get people to support criminalizing it. Because you just come up with like all this propaganda that says, oh my God, these drugs are ravaging our streets, and if we don't get rid of them and throw everyone in prison, then all of our kids are going to turn into like, you know, sex raged serial killers, and like, whatever the narrative is that they come up
Okay.
with. And so it's even if that's true, that it could be that bad, which it's certainly not. The government doesn't have the right to tell you what you can or cannot do. And even a more extreme
Right.
example. So I was having a conversation with a sheriff while he stopped me on the side of the road. It was on that long stretch of highway that goes between McAllen and San Antonio, and they're looking for drugs. And
Okay.
so I was talking with one of the sheriffs and telling him like, hey, you guys need to end this drug war. It's pretty stupid. You're wasting all your time on me. They
Yeah,
spent a
big
good
time.
hour with me on the side of the road. And I was like, you know how many drug dealers
Yeah.
just got by while you were wasting your time with me. Um, and But he had this concern that well, the other day I arrested a guy for breaking into someone's house, and he was stealing money so he could go buy meth. And I was like, okay, well, was he in possession of meth? No. Was he on meth? No. What'd you arrest him for? For breaking and entering. And I was like, okay, so what do drugs have to do with this? Like, that's not even a drug charge. He's breaking and entering. Arrest him for breaking and entering, and do whatever you want with him. I'm
Yeah.
not going to stop you. But then they take it. Well, if it weren't for the drug, well, hey, you know what? There are people who would break into your house and steal money because they want a new stereo, or they want to buy an upgrade for their car, or they want to buy a nice gift for their grandmother. There's a million reasons people are going to break into someone's
Yeah.
house. That's a violation of someone's house. That's a violation of someone else's rights. If you want to prosecute someone, do it for that. Um, and so the drug just becomes a false narrative that they put on top of everything else, and they use it for, they it's so crazy that the way that they can do this. And it also, like, when you create these little nonsense laws where these victimless crimes, you actually create um, institutionalized racism that way. Because if somebody breaks into someone's house, right, the victim can basically go to any victim can go to any court and say, this guy broke into my house. I want him to go to jail. I want him to reimburse me for the whatever he damaged. Any person can do this. The expectation is that when the police catch a person doing that crime, that they're going to punish them, and do whatever they do. But when you have victimless crimes, then you have this system where there's no victim to ensure that the person, not that the person should be punished, but that the person who committed this quote unquote crime gets punished, except for the system. So you have police officers and judges, and they can sit there and they can say, okay, well, um, all these people are lined up in my courtroom. They've got violations from possession of marijuana, driving without a seatbelt, not signaling for a turn. And as they walk through here, I can say, and I've seen this before. Like, I've seen this, I saw this personally with a judge. He is a fake judge, but still part of this, playing the role of the judge. And he said something to the effect of, all the pretty girls, I'm going to dismiss all your tickets. And bam, gone. And so that, because there's no victim, right? There's no victim to stand up and say, but wait, you can't just let the criminal go because I'm a victim. Nobody's going to say that because there is no victim, right? So it's really just up to the judge to say, if he wants to be racist, if he wants to be sexist, whatever he wants to be. I don't like I don't like the way you're dressed. I don't like the job that you have. I don't like the color of your skin. I don't like your accent. I don't like that you had to bring a translator to talk to me. Whatever it is, a judge can just say, get this asshole out of here. Guilty, gone. And, you know, with all these, most of these victimless crimes, there doesn't even need to be proof of evidence, especially with like traffic crimes. So it's, I think there's an entire, this whole system runs so deep, and we're just so used to so much of it, and it being in every aspect of our lives, that everybody just kind of shrugs it off and says, well, that's just the way that things are. If we get rid of all these police and all these fake courts and all these traffic cops and like all this other thing, people are going to be driving around without seatbelts and they're all going to die. Like that's kind of like the false narrative that people have in their heads. And so, you know, whether it's a seatbelt, hey, if you want to, like, I wear my seatbelt. I don't have to. I do most of the time. But if I don't, because I'm on a really short trip or I forgot to, I don't think that's cause for, you know, some guy in some funny costume with a shiny badge to come up to me and extort me for money. That's not justice. He's not saving me. If he was really interested in my safety, he might pull me over and say, hey, you forgot to put on your seatbelt. But that's not what they do. They want money, right? And it's the same thing with drugs. I mean, it's really the same thing. Nobody's afraid of, you know, nobody's afraid of especially weed smokers, you know, running around and terrorizing the city. I mean, because the reality is, any city you live in, half the people are, you know, they're weed smokers, and there's no epidemic of, you know, weed smokers going around and creating all these crazy crimes. Meth users, even, there's like, I know there's some of them are known for, you know, breaking in and stealing and all kinds of other things, but it's not every single one of them. It's actually a pretty small portion. There are people who do all kinds of drugs, and that's even an exaggeration too, to say that, you know, meth is like this crazy drug that's gonna. No, the reality is meth and I think it's Adderall are almost identically the same. Not just chemically, but in terms of the effects and all this other stuff. And they say, you know, you know, all the research says that they've got the same effects, especially if you take them in the same dosage. Of course, you know, people who abuse drugs, they're smoking meth or they're inhaling meth, which is going to give you a much different effect than if you take it in a pill form. But hey, you could do the same thing with the pill form, right? Like if you're prescribed Adderall, you can you can huff it or smoke it or whatever. So and this is just like, that one is completely criminal and the other one is a necessity somehow, and for certain people. And what's the real difference? The real difference is the billions of dollars that have gone into creating a narrative that this substance is evil and it's going to make you do bad things, and this substance is going to save your life. And that's really all there is to it.
Exactly.
And so back to, like, you know, the point of the government has no role. It should have absolutely no role in telling you what you can or can't put into your own body. Someone else's body, yes. Your own body, no. If you want to buy something and you know what's in it, you know there's potential risks, you know it's dangerous, that's your choice. Some people want to live short, exciting lives. Other people want to live really, really long, boring lives. That's your choice. You can do whatever you want.
It's your body. It's your body.
Exactly. It's yours. It's not
Well,
the government's.
okay. So we can expect you to be out there with us to support us and all that great stuff when we have stuff going on. Fantastic.
Absolutely.
That's wonderful.
So, well, it looks like we're about at time, but I just want to give you another opportunity to plug if you have any websites or Facebook pages, anything you want anyone to follow you.
Yes. Well, again, I just want to talk about the event for October the 6th. It's going to be Cannabis Reform in Houston Walk, and also COCW. We're going to be at McGregor Park from 3 to 7. And then after that, October the 6th, from 8 p.m. until we'll be at Midtown Bar and Grill. And we're going to have Rock to Vote, Cannabis Reform in Houston will be there, COCW, and we'll have music entertainment and all of that. So we're asking for all the candidates to come out. Doesn't matter, Libertarian, Democrat, Republican. We're all going to get together. We want to make sure everyone is registered to vote, you know. So that's the most important thing, guys. You know, in every party, we want to make sure people are registered so that they can use their voice. And then also, you know, we'll talk more. We do have an event coming up October the 27th. That's for Halloween, but we call it Halloween. And so we're going to party. Halloween. October the 27th. And that's going to be at Midtown Bar and Grill, too. We invite you to come down if you want to. It's the Saturday before Halloween, so you know we're gonna have a great time. We'll have some wonderful artists there, and we're looking for performances too. So if anyone wants to get on the show, get with me, LaTonya Whittington, or hit me on Cannabis Reform in Houston Facebook. Okay, so and I also like to thank another person, Michael Anderson. He's my communications director. And through all of it, you know, he's been there with me. And, you know, when you have organizations, it's very hard to keep people, you know, who's dedicated that will stay with you through the ups and downs, you know. So I want to give it to him, you know. And also, what I like for everyone to do is to get on our Instagram. That's Instagram is Free the Weed, HTX. Facebook is Cannabis Reform in Houston, and our website is cannabisreformofhouston.org. And make sure you get with us, you know, because we have one purpose, and that's to free the weed in Texas. Free the
Free the
weed.
weed. All right, awesome. All right, well, it's been great talking with you, and until next time, taxation is theft.
Yes, it is. Taxation is theft. Free the weed. Thank you.